Wow. Okay, so, I always, spiritual thinking is one of the things we're going to talk about today, but I always love when the reading, the songs, they all come together without conversing between one another. And Sandy's reading was just so beautiful. I love that Willie Nelson song. Bill always says to me, when's Jackson going to sing that Willie Nelson song? So there you go. And then to wrap it up with that. And you did mention the election. I'm not going to go into it, but I was like, why am I feeling so nervous today? Well, I could tell it was probably the collective nerves. So thank you for calming us, soothing our souls with that beautiful song. And we can also call in the creative process to our nerves and allow what's going to unfold. Anyway, have you heard of the gentleman who went to the pearly gates and talked to St. Peter? Anyone? No? So the gentleman died and he got to the pearly gates and St. Peter led him down the roads of gold. And they passed these stately homes and mansions. And at the end of the street, in front of a little hut, they stopped. The man asked St. Peter why he got a hut and so many other people were living in mansions and on the streets of gold. And St. Peter replied, well, I did the best with the money you sent us. I thought it was cute. Save your pennies, you get a mansion. Now, one of the things, Sue Wooder, who was with us with the annual meeting, and thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the food. I know it went a little longer, but we had so many things to cover, and we are trying to change the tide. And so sometimes when we're rebuilding the foundation and we're changing the tide, it can take a little bit longer. And one of the things I want to say is, we all have traumas, and reading out loud is not my forte. Now, I'm okay with it, but thank you for standing here. Let me read a letter to you. I really appreciate it. I know it's not the best of my skills, but I refuse to give up on improving it. So there you go. But Sue handed this out, and it has been my guiding principle as I practice gratitude through the week. So, I believe in God. I believe I am divinely guided and directed. I believe I will always take the right turn in the road. I believe God will make a way even when I see no way. For this, I am truly grateful, and so it is. And I really think that we just needed to hear that today when so many things are going on that are seemingly out of our control. But what is in our control is the talk. So today we're going to get acquainted with the creative process, continuing on lesson 2 from Frederick Bales' The Science of Mind Principles home study book. Frederick Bales says that one of his quotes that he started the chapter out was with the great teacher saying, I and my Father are one. Now this statement speaks to our unity, to our wholeness, to the thoughts between our thoughts and infinite power, and how we become an expression of that infinite power. And one of the things that I thought, as I was sitting at the table typing, the lights were flickering, and I thought, how does spiritual thinking and having a kinked line within us dim our light versus having an open line allow it to shine bright? And so I did a little work on this and kind of came up with my own process that in the creative process, if we are indeed our thoughts, which we must, I can't talk today, which we must keep lofty, which they refer to as spiritual thinking, then we know that when our thoughts are not as high and lofty, not good, bad, right or wrong, but they maybe take on more of a negative tone outward or inward, that I would say your line is kinked and the creative process can only express to the level that you are allowing it. So we must keep a vigilant watch on our thoughts. My teacher Reba used to say, if you stand at the door and there's a little opening and you get to be the author of your own thoughts by, when you hear a negative thought, you can open the door and go, not today, close, nope, not here, not now, not today. Now, sometimes when life is really difficult, that can be challenging. I understand that, but there is a process of, that we use affirmations. Now, affirmations are really the reconditioning and the expression of the divine with the flow. They raise our vibration. When our vibration changes, the law kicks in and it draws unto us that which is like. This is why Ernest Holmes says, it is not our personal limited thinking that generates results. Instead, our thoughts serve as a vehicle for a universal energy that flows through us, manifesting our intentions and aligning us with divine possibility. So today we're going to explore that a little bit, and we're going to look at 3 ideas. If we get through all 3, that's great. If not, we'll know. There's always another day. But the first one is, why do our thoughts have power? The second one is, how can we open ourselves to spiritual or lofty thinking? And the third one is the fundamentals of a successful treatment is eliminating negative speech. Now, I've been teaching the practitioners on Thursday, and I am having so much fun. I found that I am just in love with these 4 students. They are working hard, and I got to grade their homework. And in the grading of their homework and giving feedback, I recognized that Ernest Holmes really was telling us through treatment is an expression of gratitude in the affirmative. And it dawned on me. Now you guys might know that. You're like, well, of course, Tracey. But we all get to it when we get to it. But I was sitting there and I was reading and I was looking at their work and then thinking about how I would have written the treatment and I was doing a little research in the book, and it made me realize that when we do these 5 steps, we're aligning with the creative flow. We're telling ourselves we are one with it. Right? We're unifying it. We're stating what we want. We're unifying it. We're talking about what we want from the unification as if it were now. We are obliterating any negative thought. We are at gratitude. So many people say different things about treatment and what they feel is the more important step. And I would say, after this aha that I had yesterday, that gratitude is the highest vibration and step in the treatment or the creative process, because gratitude changes your vibration. It smooths the kink. It opens the windows, the doors. It allows the fresh rain smell to come in, and we all just take a collective breath, knowing that once it's released, the release is after the gratitude for a reason, because when we get steeped in gratitude as a practice, and then we can release it into the law, there is a lesser chance, Frederick Bales says, that you will chase down the garbage truck to get all your stuff back that you just tossed out, right? I think I've told the story where my teacher said that, treatment or prayer is like, my teacher, Rebe, you strip it all off and you throw it in the garbage truck. You say, I'm done with that thinking. And then something happens, you're like, ah! And you're like, give it back, I want to put it on. Because these conditions that make us lean to the negative, let's say, those conditions are inherent in the way we were raised. They were ideas, safety, ego, safety, preservation strategies. They are a way to keep your identity in place, and the identity or the nature of the mind is to protect you. It's kind of like your Superman. Right? Da, 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 da. Like you attract this negative, maybe a negative situation, maybe a job loss, maybe whatever the case or how you view it is negative. And then the ego shows up to defend or, combat or stand its ground. And very rarely does it back down until the idea comes, oh, this isn't working for me anymore. I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to be in resistance anymore. I don't want to be controlling anymore. And then we start on this path of self-exploration. And then the creative process, what is wonderful about it is it always meets you at your highest ideal. It always gives to you exactly what you give to it. This is what Frederick Bales was saying, is that our thoughts have this kind of power. So imagine our minds as a wire connecting to that powerful source, that light bulb. And a clear wire transmits electricity, uncluttered, allows the mind to open itself and allow the healing and presence to flow freely through you. And when our thoughts are tangled and the doubt and negativity creep back in, a dimmer version of what Spirit intends for us shows up. And it's painful. That's how you know you're off track or your wire's kinked. Holmes reminds us that thoughts are things, and those thoughts are channels of divine energy. So I started thinking about examples of personality types, and I was talking to the practitioners about this, that I have recently come to understand that I'm a bit controlling. And it was the part of myself that I don't really want to acknowledge to anybody, right? And so I was having this beautiful conversation with Diane, and I said, I don't want the new practitioners to think I'm controlling. And silence. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And then I thought, we were talking it through, and I go, oh. And she said, yes. And I go, I am controlling. And you know what? I don't have to make it negative anymore. I can see this about myself, start to transform it, be two things at once while you're practicing, and then allow the creative spirit to use that control when it needs to be there as a leader, and to allow collaboration when it doesn't. But the freeing thing was to say, I am Tracey Harrick, and I am a control freak. And so it made me think, what type of energy do you put out when you're a control freak, and who do you attract to show you, right? And so controlling personality, someone who struggles to let go, often fears uncertainty. Well, this job will do that for you. Uncertainty. It'll bring it out in you. They have a tight grip and creates a vibration that attracts resistance. I'm just kidding. I have met some resistance, where others may push back or withdraw, reinforcing their belief that they must struggle to stay in control. So there's two things going on there. You're attracting resistance. The other person's playing their part and you're playing yours. And this fight, not fighting, because we don't really fight, right? We disagree, or maybe you just stay as far away from me as you can. I don't know. But you know what? I really was determined to see this about myself, and to allow it to be there, and to have some self-forgiveness, and to allow the flow to easily and gently remind me that there is nothing that is uncertain in the creative power. And that my attention and direction is pointed to the outward world, where everything is uncertain, impermanent, coming, going. But the thing that we talk about here that we stand on is the certainty of spirit, and that you can rely on it, and so can I. I have goosebumps. I know we're talking about the truth right now. And the other people pleaser, I'm outing myself right now, but people pleaser, a person who fears rejection. Again, you can't have this job and maybe not have some part of that. And seeks approval, and is often unconsciously focused on scarcity and insecurity. Tom and I have had discussions about this many times. And the kinked wire manifests a frequency that attracts situations where they feel undervalued or are reliant on the validation of others. Now, I have been working on this for a long time, and I will tell you, it is 99% better than it used to be, because I brought it out into the light. I owned that it was a wounded part of myself, and they were concepts and ideas that I put out there to protect myself. We all do it. We all do it. So this becomes our reason for change. Understanding the power of thought as a connection point for divine potential, we start to release these limitations. We start to understand the immutable presence of a God or the creator, or whatever you want to call it, is your innate nature. Your wires get smoothed out. Your faith builds. The words change. New ideas come to you. Your courage and resilience build, and you put yourself in situations that you normally wouldn't, to show people that it is okay. The human part of us is flawed. We have gathered these ideas through our lifetime based on things that people have told us or said. You know, when I was in 5th grade, I remember standing in front of the class, and now math is not my forte, but I do have the gift of finding people whose gift it is and collaborating with them. So you become very skilled at finding the other half and allowing them to light the world with their gifts. But I just remember the teacher going, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4, 5 times 5, and I'm like, like my nervous system. And I decided in that moment, I'm never standing and reading or deciphering or anything in front of anyone. Now this little person decides this, and as you grow, these ideas go down into the unconscious, and then certain aspects of your life bring them forth, and you don't really know where they're coming from. But you know, you might hear something like, "Stop acting like a 5-year-old." And you're like, now I can say, well, my 5-year-old wants to come out and play, and it wants a reason for change. And so that's what we look at spiritual thinking. This is when we identify our personality trait, and we have positive ones. We're just talking about the limiting ones right now that prevent the creative process from flowing through your life. So spiritual thinking is the idea of loftiness. That's why we read affirmations. That's why we look at, we take classes, we seek out practitioners. Spiritual thinking means aligning our thoughts with the higher truths of unity, peace, and abundance. When we engage in spiritual thinking, we shift from the limited personal belief to expansive awareness. Doesn't that sound beautiful? Say that with me, expansive awareness. That is your nature. That is your light. That is your truth, not the story about the controller or the people pleaser. And that's okay, because you know what? Law loves you so much to bring you someone to be at odds with you, to show you that you are in your limiting belief and idea. And what we have a tendency to do is to go out and blame the other person. But really, as you become cultivated in this philosophy, you turn around and come back home and say, hey, what's going on here? Now we have to be very careful at that juncture, because we can blame ourselves. We can say, oh, God, that controlling piece of me. Like, we can be really down on ourselves and use negative self-talk. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about taking our eyes off the other person and who they are or who they are not. Isn't relevant. What's relevant is what arises in you, and how the creative process is trying to get you to move into the path of flow and to find someone that has cultivated the ability to see the discordant thought and to gently point it out to you and put you back on the path. Now, you might encounter some breaks. Like, I was talking to someone the other day, and I said, oh, what we have here is a issue of worth. No, you know, and I could hear in my mind, oh, they're not ready for that yet. Let's step back 2 steps and talk about something else that will lead them to their own expression or idea of themselves. Because sometimes we just can't come right at the ego. I mean, I don't know if you're in a class and you're learning someone and someone just comes straight at you. The ego is your Superman. It does not want to hear what people think about your ego, and it will defend, and that is the electricity that we should be paying attention to go, something's going on here. And then we go into ourselves, and my suggestion is the power of gratitude. Being open to change. Holmes says and describes this as tapping into the power that transcends our own will. That's beautiful. Our job is to clear the wire and align our thoughts with the truth of unity and infinite potential. We must move from I must to I allow. Say that. I must feels resistant. I must do this. I must go to church. I must, you know. To I allow infinite potential to flow freely through my life. I allow myself to make mistakes and to get back up. I allow myself to have forgiveness. It feels freeing, and that's when you know you're in the flow. So we got to eliminate that negative speech, the power of words. The power of words are so is so instrumental in changing the tide of what you want to experience in your life. The first step in effective treatment is to recognize and remove the negative speech. When we speak negatively, we are reinforcing those limited beliefs, causing those kinks. Self-criticism, right? Speak words of self-doubt. They reinforce those patterns of lack and limitation. Judgment of others. Negative talk about others affects our energy. It really does put us in the tanker, because what it does is it sends out or emits a vibration, and it brings back to you things that you might not really appreciate in your life. So we want to use practical application. We want to use daily affirmations, and I want you to think about a daily affirmation as a way to rewire or to smooth out that kink. Sometimes we just say them rotely. Oh, we say this affirmation every day at church. Let's just say it. But when we start to recognize that the affirmation or the words have their own vibrations, and we are allowing them to smooth out the kink, we don't have to read the affirmation, but the intent and the mindset that we read it with allows the energy to smooth the kink, and it allows the creative process to come in and bring you your desire. Practice gratitude. So my teacher, as I work on my family and the kids and learning to be grateful at 58 to have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, I get a lot of practice. He's like, before you get out of bed, just thankful for your husband, your life, your house. And I started this, and now it's happening in my dreams. Like I'm like in my dreams doing gratitude. And when I wake up, I automatically feel so much better. And you don't have to go to other people and say, I'm grateful. You just hold that in your heart. Your vibration changes and the other person gets it, and then your circumstances, you might not have to leave a job that you thought you might have to leave, because you are changing your vibration to bring the desired result to you. And you must do the work, right? Or not, it's up to you. So just take a moment this week to notice what personality traits and habits that you carry, how you might reframe those beliefs and align more with the divine truth. Change your thinking, change your life is something that we talk about all the time, and it's simple yet powerful statement. Holmes invites us to see our thoughts as instruments through which spirit's power flows. That's a mouthful. That statement, if you could just say that to yourself every day, you are allowing spirit's power to flow. You will have clearer thoughts, a brighter outlook, and remember that our role is not to create the power, but to allow it, to open the channels of divine expression. By aligning our thoughts and speech and energy, we go into the idea, a new idea, or we push out the limiting beliefs, but what we ultimately recognize is you are the creative process. When we're looking at it from our mind, it's something that we do or it's outside of ourselves, but it's not. It is you. So as you change your vibration, you are allowing that part of yourself to flow more freely, effortlessly, allowing things to find their way to you. You unclog and just have this rush of beauty, love, and sustenance flows through to you. And I just invite you to look at that. And it doesn't mean that life gets easier. It means our response to life gets easier. And we don't let those things that are difficult in our world take us under, because we can go back and stand on our foundation of faith that there is good in the world and I ought to have it. And I am the creative flow in process. And what comes to me is mine. And if I don't want it, I need to realign and speak the truth about who I am and what I want and how I wish to experience. You are that powerful. I left some journal sheets out there with 15 different personality types and some questions for you to assess. Maybe you fall into a couple different ones, and to honestly look at those. It is not a negative. It's your ego preservation strategy. Once you identify it, you tell the truth about it, you set yourself free, and watch the glory of you shine brightly to all that you encounter. And so it is. And we will ground that in prayer. I just know right here, right now, in this one magnificent creative force that is me and it is you, and that any and every idea that says I am separate from it is obliterated and sent into the four corners of the wind and blown away. For the direct realization is, God is, therefore I am. And as I recognize my personality and all the things that is acquired to stay safe in this uncertain world, it reminds me of the certainty of the creative process, of the creative law, of God and this energy, that this body-mind has the ability to choose. If it doesn't like something, it chooses a higher frequency. And it keeps asking until it's understood with absolute certainty, with the direct knowledge of spirit, that insight, that beautiful, beautiful essence. It just gives you the goosebumps. It just lights you up from the inside out. It's a feeling that when you experience it, you will know it because it is unlike any other feeling in the world. So through direct experience, challenge yourself today to look, fall in love with all the parts of you. Open the door, step out of the closet, yell it from the rooftops. I'm a control freak and it's okay. Because God, in its many forms, blesses us, uses us, and gives to us. And I am deeply, deeply grateful for these words of spirit as they touch each person's heart. And what you need, you take away and you just leave the rest on the floor. The gratitude, it just wells up from inside of me. I can feel it in my mind, my heart, my body. I am aligned with it, I am it, and I send it out into the ethers knowing it cannot be returned void because there is only love, and so it is.
So it